Me, myself, and Eddie. Me, myself, and Eddie, Malcolm Hamilton.
All good things must come to an end, and Toastmasters is no different for me. I remember when I started Toastmasters, I felt like I had a lifetime of stories waiting to be unleashed on my club. Sadly though, my life is not as interesting as I had imagined. And soon, I struggled to write good, engaging speeches, and eventually, I hit a wall. I remember one day, I gave a speech at my local club, looked like a wave of narcolepsy hit the whole room. I left the club that day, walked right out the back door, determined to quit Toastmasters. And as I was walking to my car, I heard a voice over my shoulder. "You're out of material. You're drier than California." And I turned, and I saw a guy, slick back hair, nice pressed suit, gleaming gold watch, smoking. "And who are you?" I asked. "I'm Eddie, and I'm the guy who can get you all the material you would ever want. I can put the ink back in your well, I can put the thoughts back in your head." "What do you mean by that?" I asked. "Meet me and my associates downtown," he said. "We'll explain everything." Now, everybody in this room knows Eddie's bad news, but I was desperate. I wanted to be that guy in my club who always had great speeches, so I went downtown and I met Eddie, and they explained their business. They were speech brokers. They connected people with material and inspiration to those in desperation. And they knew writers, speech swappers, they even knew retired Toastmasters who kept copies of their old speeches. Now at first I just dabbled and I'd make small little purchases just to add a little flair of suspense to an otherwise mediocre speech. But soon I couldn't get enough. I was in deep and I was hooked. I would take anything from Eddie and it would become my life at the lectern. I've traveled to 80 countries. I've died and been brought back to life roughly 10 times. I've had so many careers, I can't even count. I had to start juggling clubs just to kind of keep it all under wraps. I had elaborate maps all over my living room with notes about who I was at which club and what I had even said. But as you can imagine, it was tiring. But most of all, it was depressing. I was breaking one of the key rules of Toastmasters, original material. And on top of that, Eddie began to lose territory and connections to younger, more aggressive brokers. His material became worse and worse, and it was stressing me out. I remember the last time we met in the back of a smoky pool hall. Eddie came with his briefcase, click, click, and he started his routine. "So, Malcolm, when's the last time you had a near-death experience?" "Twice last month, Eddie." "Next." "Okay, have you ever traveled to Zimbabwe?" "Yeah, Eddie, that was 3 months ago. We just did this." "Next." Have you ever been a botanist?" "Eddie, that's why I was in Zimbabwe as a botanist studying rare plant species." "What's going on with you? All you've got is reruns and trash." And I slammed my hand on the table, and Eddie got up and he grabbed me by the collar. He's like, "Malcolm, you're out of control. You've had enough. You need to take a break, man." And I pleaded with Eddie. "Eddie, I need material and good material right now." But he didn't have it, and I had had enough. I left the pool hall that day in a daze. And just as I stepped off the curb, I heard the screech of tires, and when I looked up, there was a car right on me. And I blacked out. I woke up to the rhythmic pulsing and beeping of medical devices, and I pushed my eyes open. There's a face in front of mine. Ugh, it was Eddie. "Malcolm, we're rich. We're speech rich." "What happened?" I asked. "You got hit by a car, Malcolm, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to us. We have material for months, maybe years. We have survivor speeches, perseverance speeches, new lease on life speeches, learn to walk again speeches." Sorry, bud. Eddie was planning on taking my tragedy and making money off it. It was sickening. But you know what it made me think? How many times was I on the other side of someone else's tragedy, buying their story, telling it like it was mine? I erupted. "I've had enough, Eddie. I'm done with Toastmasters. I want out of everything. I'm going back to being me, and it may be boring, but it's 100% me." Eddie put his hands up. "Okay, Malcolm, do one last speech for me. Go to your district contest. Tell them everything about the business, my business. Hold nothing back, spare no details. Bring integrity back to Toastmasters and redeem yourself." "I love it," I said, "but how does it end?" And he gestured, he turned to the crowd, and simply explained, "All good things must come to an end."